a Navy submariner, a state senator, a governor of the state of Georgia, and a U.S. president, a Nobel Prize winner, a devoted husband of 76 years, as well as being a caring father. These are just a few of the towering titles held by President Carter during his extraordinary 96 years of life. Many of us are aware of President Carter's negotiation at the historic Camp David Accords between the State of Israel and Egypt. His work on the SALT II arms control agreement, which is also historic, and a dedication to civil rights at home in the United States and human rights abroad as a plank of America's foreign policy. But many may not know of his close and collaborative relationship with Japan. In the 1970s, he was planting the seeds of the U.S.-Japan economic and strategic partnership that we today are harvesting. It was no surprise that when Japan's Emperor and Empress made their first official tour of the United States in 1994, they made Atlanta their first stop. President Carter pioneered commercial diplomacy with Japan as governor of Georgia by convincing the first two Japanese companies to invest in Georgia. These company operations have grown to support more than 600 Japanese affiliated firms in Georgia and tens and thousands of American jobs. Recognizing President Carter's long-term commitment to growing the relationship, Japan opened its consulate in Atlanta during his governorship. And as president, in 1977, his first year of his presidency, he welcomed Japan's prime minister to Washington, where the two signed a declaration proclaiming the importance of the U.S.-Japan cooperation to regional stability and security, a precursor to the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy that we all accept as a given today. President Carter, along with his wife and daughter, visited Japan 3 years later in 1979. At that time, he was only the second sitting U.S. president to do so. In his meetings with the Prime Minister, the two focused on energy security, just as President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida are doing today. On this trip, President Carter participated in the 5th G7 summit, which Japan hosted. This year, Japan repeats as G7 host, and world leaders will gather in Hiroshima to tackle some of the same issues their forebears addressed almost 50 years ago here in Tokyo: energy security, countering state-sponsored coercion, and protecting national sovereignty from authoritarian states. Even after leaving the White House, President Carter continued to serve as a statesman to Japan. In a historic visit in 1984, he visited the Hiroshima Memorial Peace Park, at the time the highest-ranking United States official to visit, and called for peace to a crowd of more than 1,000 people. This empowered President Obama's historic Hiroshima visit 3 decades later. While President Carter's achievements to bridge our two nations were remarkable, what stands out most about President Carter's relationship to Japan is his connection to the Japanese people. When he visited in 1975 as a governor, he found and came to love a small local chicken restaurant located right here near the embassy in Roppongi area. Over the years, President Carter ate at the restaurant at least a dozen times, enjoying the conversation as much as the food. Around the 1979 summit, he took time to visit one of Tokyo's most important shrines, jog around the U.S. Embassy grounds, and hold a town hall with citizens living in the area where the U.S.-Japan Friendship Treaty was first concluded. Today in Japan, you can find a key road, a civic center, and even a marathon named after President Carter. Throughout more than 7 decades of public service, President Carter has had a profound impact on development and diplomacy, on peace and prosperity, on freedom and fairness. As he wrote in one shrine's guest book back in 1979, Jimmy Carter, for peace and friendship among all people. Thank you, Mr. President, for all that you have done for the American people for the Japanese people, and for people around the world. You have made this world a better place, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you.